You think intelligence makes you powerful. You think reading books, knowing history, and quoting philosophers makes you dangerous. It doesn't. Intelligence without realism is decoration. Knowledge without strategy is weakness. And in the real world, the world ruled by power, perception, and fear, the naive intellectual is usually the first to be crushed. Welcome to Purely Noetical, where we study power without illusion, strategy without sentiment, and human nature without apology. Today, you will learn 7 brutal lessons that make you intellectually dangerous, not academically impressive, not morally admired, but strategically untouchable. By the end of this video, you will know why Machiavelli rejected idealism, why fear is often more reliable than love, how perception can control reality, why preparation outweighs intention, how morality shifts when power is at stake, how emotional discipline protects intellect, why structural understanding always beats individual brilliance. This is not encouragement toward cruelty. This is education in realism. Because if you refuse to see the world as it is, the world will use you exactly as you are. Now listen carefully. This content is purely educational. We do not promote cruelty, manipulation, or harm. These lessons are meant to build awareness, strategic thinking, and mental resilience. The lessons will show you why most people remain blind even when they are educated. The first brutal lesson: see the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. In The Prince, Machiavelli makes a decisive break from fantasy. He says a ruler must learn how not to be good when circumstances demand it, not because goodness is evil, but because survival is superior to moral comfort. He was not teaching chaos. He was teaching adjustment. A ruler who insists on being good in all situations will eventually be destroyed by those who are not bound by the same rules. A leader who refuses to act harshly when harshness is required will lose both power and respect. And once power is lost, even good intentions become irrelevant. Most people build their thinking on how the world should function. They imagine systems are fair. They imagine institutions reward merit. They imagine loyalty is sacred and permanent. They build expectations on these ideas. They believe fairness governs outcomes. They believe effort guarantees reward. They believe loyalty guarantees loyalty in return. But reality is not organized around belief. It is organized around interest. Machiavelli observed something colder. He observed that people are ungrateful, fickle, false, cowardly, and greedy when circumstances shift. They are loyal when it benefits them. They retreat when danger approaches. They praise strength and abandon weakness. This does not mean every individual is evil. It means human behavior bends under pressure. When safety disappears, promises weaken. When advantage changes, alliances change. When risk increases, loyalty shrinks. People protect themselves first. And if you ignore this, you will constantly be shocked. You will constantly say, "I did not expect this." You will constantly feel betrayed. Not because you are unlucky, but because you are unrealistic. If you want to become intellectually dangerous, you must remove sentimental lenses. Sentiment distorts analysis. Attachment blinds observation. Hope weakens prediction. You must observe incentives. Ask, what does this person gain? Ask, what do they lose? Ask, what changes if pressure increases? Incentives reveal truth faster than words. You must track interests. Friendship does not erase self-interest. Public kindness does not cancel private ambition. Smiles do not eliminate calculation. When interests align, cooperation appears. When interests separate, conflict emerges. This is not personal. It is structural. You must analyze power positions. Who depends on whom? Who can replace whom? Who has alternatives? Who has leverage? Power is rarely loud. It is often silent and hidden inside dependency. The person who needs nothing from you controls the interaction. The person who can walk away holds the advantage. When you begin to see these patterns clearly, your emotional reactions decrease. You stop being surprised by betrayal. You stop being confused by sudden changes. You stop expecting morality to override survival. Clarity replaces disappointment. The moment you see clearly, manipulation becomes harder against you. Because manipulation works best on illusion. It works on your hope. It works on your expectation that others will act as you would. But when you already understand incentives, you anticipate moves. When you understand interests, you detect shifts early. When you understand power, you know who truly controls the outcome. This is the beginning of intellectual danger. Not aggression, not cruelty, accuracy. Most people prefer comforting stories. Very few prefer uncomfortable truth. And that is why very few hold real power. If you can discipline yourself to see the world as it is, not as you wish it to be, you immediately move ahead of the majority. Because you are no longer reacting emotionally. You are responding strategically. This is the first brutal lesson. See clearly. Think coldly. Act deliberately. And once you master this, every other lesson becomes easier. Because power begins with vision. The second brutal lesson. Human nature runs on fear and self-interest. Machiavelli famously states that it is safer to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Why? Because love depends on obligation. Fear depends on consequence. Love is a feeling. Fear is a calculation. Love asks, do I still feel connected? Fear asks, what will happen if I cross this line? And calculations last longer than feelings. Love disappears when advantage disappears. When circumstances change, affection weakens. When benefit fades, loyalty fades. When comfort is gone, attachment becomes negotiable. People promise loyalty during peace, but peace is easy. Pressure reveals truth. Fear remains as long as consequences remain credible. Notice the word credible. Not loud, not violent, credible. Fear works when people believe that crossing you carries a cost. It works when boundaries are clear and consistently enforced. It works when your response is predictable and firm. This is not about terror. It is about psychological certainty. Terror creates rebellion. Certainty creates order. When people are certain about consequences, they adjust their behavior. When they are uncertain, they test limits. Machiavelli understood that human beings do not act primarily because they love deeply. They act because they calculate risk and reward. People act primarily to avoid loss and secure gain. Loss hurts more than gain feels good. That is why people move faster to protect themselves than to help others. That is why they abandon sinking ships quickly. That is why they align with rising power. They protect themselves first. Even good people do this. A friend may care about you, but if supporting you threatens their security, most will hesitate. An employee may respect you, but if staying loyal risks their position, they will reconsider. An ally may praise you, but if your strength weakens, their tone changes. This is not always evil. It is instinct. They align where security exists. Security attracts loyalty. Strength attracts followers. Stability attracts support. Weakness attracts doubt. When people sense instability, they distance themselves. When they sense consequence, they behave carefully. If you understand this, you stop being shocked by betrayal. You stop saying, after all I did for them. You stop expecting emotional memory to override present advantage. You stop assuming past kindness guarantees future loyalty. Because you understand the structure, you stop expecting gratitude. Gratitude is temporary. Interest is permanent. Gratitude fades with time. Interest renews itself constantly. The person who once felt grateful may later feel entitled. The person you once helped may later calculate that helping you brings no benefit. And once that calculation changes, their behavior changes. You stop confusing kindness with loyalty. Kindness can create affection, but loyalty requires alignment of interests. If interests no longer align, kindness alone will not hold the structure together. This is why leaders who rely only on being liked eventually lose control. This is why individuals who seek constant approval become dependent on approval. Because approval is unstable, consequence is stable. And when you stop being surprised, you stop being vulnerable. Surprise creates emotional reaction. Emotional reaction creates mistakes. But when you already expect self-interest, you prepare for it. When you expect fear to guide behavior, you design clear boundaries. When you expect advantage to shape loyalty, you structure relationships accordingly. You become calm, not paranoid, not hostile. Calm. You reward loyalty. You enforce limits. You maintain credibility. You understand that love is valuable but fragile. You understand that fear, when balanced and controlled, creates durability. Machiavelli did not celebrate cruelty. He warned against naivety. If you cannot be both loved and feared, choose the one that does not collapse under pressure. Because power that depends only on affection will disappear the moment affection changes. But power grounded in clear consequence remains stable. This is the second brutal lesson. Human nature runs on fear and self-interest. Once you accept this, you stop expecting the world to operate on sentiment. And when you stop expecting sentiment, you start operating with strategy. That is when you become difficult to manipulate. That is when you become harder to betray. That is when you begin to understand power. The third brutal lesson. Perception is often more powerful than truth. Machiavelli explains that men judge more by the eye than by the hand. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you truly are. Most people do not investigate deeply. They react to what is visible. They form opinions quickly. They decide before they verify. Appearance creates narrative. Narrative creates belief. Belief creates behavior. Reputation precedes reality. Before you enter a room, a story about you often arrives first. Before you speak, assumptions already exist. Before you act, expectations are formed. If your reputation signals weakness, people test you. If your reputation signals strength, people hesitate. If your reputation signals instability, people distance themselves. And all of this happens before truth is examined. Image shapes expectation. If people expect confidence, they interpret your silence as composure. If they expect insecurity, they interpret the same silence as fear. If they expect competence, small mistakes are forgiven. If they expect incompetence, small mistakes confirm their bias. Expectation shapes reaction. People respond to what they believe you are. That belief influences how they negotiate with you. It influences how they challenge you. It influences whether they support or resist you. An intellectually dangerous person understands that power begins in perception. Not because perception replaces substance, but because perception determines opportunity. If you are perceived as unreliable, doors close before you knock. If you are perceived as capable, doors open before you ask. Substance matters, but perception decides whether your substance will even be tested. Strength must be seen. Silent strength that no one recognizes offers little protection. If your boundaries are invisible, they will be crossed. If your confidence is hidden, it will not influence behavior. This does not mean shouting. It means signaling clearly. Competence must be projected. You do not wait for others to discover your ability by accident. You communicate it through posture, clarity, preparation, and calm response. When people see structure in you, they assume control. When they see confusion, they assume weakness. Stability must be communicated. Emotional instability invites challenge. Predictable composure discourages it. If your reactions are explosive, people provoke you. If your reactions are measured, people calculate carefully before acting. You do not reveal every intention. Total transparency removes advantage. If everyone knows your next move, they can counter it. If everyone understands your limits, they can push exactly to the edge. Mystery creates caution. You do not expose every thought. Not every opinion needs expression. Not every strategy needs announcement. Not every plan needs approval. Information is leverage. You control information flow. You decide what is visible. You decide what remains private. You decide what is revealed and when. This is not manipulation for chaos. It is discipline, because once perception turns against you, facts rarely save you. When people decide you are weak, Every neutral action confirms weakness. When people decide you are unstable, every emotional moment confirms instability. When people decide you are incompetent, even your success is questioned. Facts move slowly. Perception spreads quickly. Correcting a damaged image requires far more energy than protecting it in the first place. That is why the intelligent strategist guards reputation carefully. That is why appearance is treated as armor. That is why public behavior is intentional. You do not become fake. You become deliberate. You align what is true with what is visible. You strengthen your substance while shaping your image. You build competence and ensure it is recognized. Because power begins in the mind of others. If they perceive you as strong, they respond carefully. If they perceive you as stable, they trust your leadership. If they perceive you as capable, they align with you. This is the third brutal lesson. Perception is often more powerful than truth. Master perception, and you influence reaction. Influence reaction, and you shape outcomes. Shape outcomes, and you move closer to real power. Ignore perception, and you will constantly fight uphill trying to prove what should have been projected from the beginning. In the game of power, truth matters, but perception decides who gets heard. The fourth brutal lesson. Prepare for conflict before conflict arrives. Machiavelli insists that a ruler must have no other objective than the study of war, not because war is constant, but because vulnerability invites attack. Peace is not safety. A calm period is not a guarantee. A lack of immediate threat does not mean immunity. It is a window, and windows can be broken. Peace is preparation time. Every day without conflict is a chance to strengthen. Every calm moment is an opportunity to rehearse. Every quiet hour is a chance to refine skill, strengthen alliances, and anticipate moves before they happen. Complacency signals weakness. Those who relax too soon display cracks in armor. Those who assume that comfort lasts invite evaluation. Those who ignore subtle signs of change become targets. Weakness invites testing. Even small vulnerabilities are noted. Even minor oversights are exploited. Even fleeting hesitation is observed. Testing exposes fragility. An enemy or rival rarely hits first at full force. They probe, they poke, they measure. If they detect weakness, the full weight of challenge follows. An intellectually dangerous person studies threats early. They identify potential opponents before confrontation. They observe patterns, behaviors, and tendencies long before pressure appears. They calculate what could go wrong and how to respond. They rehearse responses mentally. Plans are imagined in advance. Scenarios are played through in thought. Reactions are refined so that instinct aligns with strategy. They build alliances before needing them. Allies are not discovered in crisis. Connections are nurtured in calm. Trust is established before it becomes urgent. They strengthen skills before competition begins. Competence is not a last-minute effort. Mastery is cultivated continuously. Abilities are sharpened in peace so they are lethal in conflict. Preparation creates confidence. When you know your abilities, your resources, and your options, you do not hesitate. When you understand threats and how to counter them, you act decisively. Confidence creates deterrence. Others sense preparation. They sense skill. They sense readiness. They hesitate before acting. They reconsider attacks. Deterrence prevents confrontation. Sometimes the strongest move is to avoid battle altogether. The display of readiness dissuades challenges. The projection of competence and vigilance keeps adversaries cautious. Peace is not passive. It is active. It is the time to act invisibly, to strengthen without exposing weakness. Complacency is the luxury of those who are already defeated. Preparation is the armor of those who intend to survive and to dominate. This is the fourth brutal lesson. Prepare before conflict arrives. Because those who wait until the storm hits are already being swept away. Those who anticipate, rehearse, and strengthen move first, and power favors the first mover. Conflict is inevitable. Preparation makes it survivable. Preparation makes it winnable. In strategy, the calm is as important as the storm. Master the calm, and you master the storm. The fifth brutal lesson. Learn to be both lion and fox. Machiavelli writes that a prince must imitate the lion and the fox. The lion frightens wolves. The fox recognizes traps. Strength without intelligence is clumsy. A strong person who cannot see danger will stumble into it. A powerful leader who ignores deception leaves themselves vulnerable. Muscles without insight are wasted effort. Intelligence without strength is ignored. A clever mind that cannot enforce its will is powerless. A strategist who cannot act decisively loses credibility. Plans without force cannot protect themselves. You must know when to appear firm. Timing is everything. A threat displayed too soon invites resistance. A threat displayed too late invites disaster. Appear firm when it matters most, and uncertainty bends to your will. You must know when to conceal intention. Revealing your plans before the moment is over exposes weakness. It gives opponents time to counter. It removes surprise, and with it, advantage. You must know when silence protects you more than speech. Speaking too much is dangerous. Every word carries risk. Every opinion may be used against you. Silence preserves freedom of action. Silence allows observation. Silence maintains control. Strategic deception is not random lying. It is not about trickery for its own sake. It is not about creating chaos. It is about choosing which truths to reveal and which to withhold. It is selective disclosure. You share what benefits you. You hide what threatens you. You shape understanding to align with your strategic goals. It is understanding that not every truth benefits you when spoken. Some truths invite attack. Some truths reduce leverage. Some truths reveal weakness that was never meant to be seen. The intellectually dangerous mind does not broadcast strategy. It does not advertise strength. It does not declare plans. It does not allow others to predict the next move. It executes strategy. Action speaks louder than words. Effectiveness is measured by outcomes, not statements. Those who act decisively, subtly, and intelligently gain advantage quietly. To be both lion and fox is to master presence and subtlety. It is to enforce your will while navigating complexity. It is to deter threats while avoiding unnecessary confrontation. It is to survive and thrive where those who rely solely on one approach fail. Strength and cunning are not separate. They are complementary tools of power. The moment you master both, you become difficult to challenge. This is the fifth brutal lesson. Learn to be both lion and fox, because the world does not reward only the strong. It does not reward only the clever. It rewards those who combine the two, those who are fierce when necessary and shrewd when required. Balance is power. Execution is dominance. Master both, and you control the game before it even begins. The sixth brutal lesson. Morality is contextual in the arena of power. Machiavelli never said evil is good. He never celebrated cruelty for its own sake. He never argued that ethics should be abandoned arbitrarily. He only observed reality with clarity. He said survival is primary. Before ideals matter, survival matters. Before fairness matters, stability matters. Before comfort matters, order matters. If preserving stability requires harshness, harshness may be justified. Sometimes firmness protects more than leniency. Sometimes punishment preserves structure more than forgiveness. Sometimes harsh action prevents greater chaos. If maintaining order requires decisiveness, hesitation becomes immoral. Delay in crucial moments allows rivals to exploit weakness. Indecision allows threats to grow. Failure to act becomes a danger greater than any single harsh choice. This is uncomfortable. It shakes the foundation of comforting beliefs. It questions the automatic link between virtue and safety. It challenges the assumption that morality always aligns with success. It disrupts the comfort of idealism. Idealism creates vulnerability. Idealism delays action. Idealism blinds people to risk. But Machiavelli's realism asks a harder question. What preserves strength? What maintains order? What prevents collapse? Not what feels right, not what pleases the conscience, not what earns approval. Outcomes matter. Effectiveness outweighs sentiment. Stability outweighs reputation for kindness. Survival outweighs personal comfort. An intellectually dangerous person evaluates actions by consequences, not emotional relief. They ask, what will this decision create? They ask, does this action protect what matters? They ask, will this choice maintain control, stability, and future options? They do not ask, will this feel comfortable? They do not ask, will this satisfy others' moral expectations? Because comfort is fragile, because opinion is fleeting, because power is permanent only when results are preserved. This is the sixth brutal lesson. Morality is contextual in the arena of power. It does not mean abandoning virtue. It means prioritizing what matters most: survival, order, and effectiveness. When you judge by consequences, not sentiment, you act decisively. You anticipate risk. You preserve structure. You prevent collapse. And in doing so, you move beyond the illusions that trap the inexperienced. You act as reality demands. You act as strategy requires. You act as power itself would. The seventh brutal lesson. Emotional discipline is strategic armor. While Machiavelli focused on statecraft, the Stoics mastered internal governance. External control matters, but without internal discipline, no strategy endures. The mind that reacts impulsively becomes predictable. The body that responds in panic becomes a target. The person who exposes fear or desperation invites exploitation. Anger exposes intention. A sudden outburst signals priority. A visible frustration reveals weakness. A flare of emotion telegraphs your next move. Fear exposes weakness. Trembling uncertainty, hesitation, or visible anxiety informs others that pressure works. It signals that control is slipping. It tells rivals which buttons to press. Desperation exposes need. When need is obvious, leverage shifts. Allies hesitate. Opponents probe. Opportunities vanish. If others can read your emotional state, they can predict your moves. Your thoughts are never private when your reactions broadcast them. Your plans are no longer yours when your mood signals intent. Your advantage disappears the moment emotion replaces calculation. But when your reactions are measured, when your voice is steady, when your decisions appear deliberate, you become difficult to destabilize. Calmness under pressure is not softness. It is precision. It is signaling competence. It is broadcasting control without words. Control is power. The person who masters themselves first can influence everything else. They do not react to chaos. They create order in chaos. They act strategically even when the world acts irrationally. Now step back and look at the pattern. See reality without illusion. Understand fear and self-interest. Control perception. Prepare before conflict. Balance strength and cunning. Judge by outcome. Master your emotions. This is not about domination for ego. It is about refusing to be naive in a world that punishes naivety. Most intelligent people remain harmless because they cling to moral comfort, emotional expression, and transparent thinking. They hope goodness will protect them. They trust fairness will shield them. They believe honesty alone will earn safety. The intellectually dangerous person is different. They observe more than they speak. They calculate before they act. They detach before they react. They prepare before they confront. Machiavelli understood something many refuse to accept. Power is not granted to the virtuous. It is secured by the prepared. It is defended by the disciplined. It is expanded by the perceptive. If you internalize these lessons, you do not become cruel. You become aware. And awareness, when disciplined, becomes advantage. When you control perception, understand incentives, anticipate conflict, balance strength and cunning, judge by outcomes, and master your emotions, you move through the world with clarity that most never attain. You no longer react impulsively. You no longer trust appearances blindly. You no longer give away power through carelessness. If this perspective challenged you, that means you are thinking. Your mind is stretching. Your instincts are sharpening. Your understanding of human nature is deepening. And in this understanding, lies your first true step toward intellectual danger. Because awareness without action is observation. Awareness with discipline is power. This is the 7th brutal lesson. Master it, and you are no longer merely intelligent. You are strategically alive. You are prepared. You are dangerous in the way that matters. If this video sharpened your understanding, subscribe to Purely Noetical. This is not entertainment. This is a compounding archive of insight. Every lesson strengthens your strategic literacy. Every concept builds a mental advantage. And now, your task. Observe human behavior around you for the next week. Identify where fear, self-interest, and perception shape outcomes. Apply one of these 7 brutal lessons deliberately, and note the effect. The world does not reward innocence. It rewards understanding. Will you remain intelligent, or will you become intellectually dangerous?